You seem to be one of the only ones who is addressing the debt issue. But it's apparent to everybody that there's a problem.
Yes.
Because if we look at how much Kenya does spend and what it does then get in revenue, the numbers don't add up.
It doesn't.
But you seem to be one of the only ones who's discussing this matter. But that people complain about many things. We can't fund education. We can't fund healthcare. We can't just get enough to go around. You seem to say that the reason that we can't do those things is because the debt is just too much.
Yes. Do you see? Let's look at this current regime. They took over in 2022, and their debt was 9 trillion. Today it is 13 trillion. All right? That's an increase of 5 trillion, 4 trillion to our budget, to our lives. And there is no commensurate development for it. Now, I tried to explain the other day, and I'll explain it on this show. You've got to look at debt in relation to tax revenue, because we pay from our tax revenue. Now, when Moi handed over to Kibaki, we had a meager tax revenue of 200 billion shillings. And we had debt of 600 billion. So debt to tax was 3 times. So 200, 400, 600.
Right.
That ratio was quite heavy. You must remember that at the time we had a negative GDP of 1. Now, when Kibaki handed over to Uhuru Kenyatta, he handed over a tax revenue of 1 trillion. 1 trillion shillings. And revenue of, a tax revenue of 1 trillion and debt of 2 trillion. So it was 2 times. He had reduced the ratio. Okay? Now, when President Uhuru handed over to President Ruto, he had taken debt to 9 trillion with a tax revenue of 2. That is 4.5 times.
More, man.
Right? Now we have a revenue, as was shown the other day, of 2.6 trillion. And we are at 13 trillion. We are now at 5 times. More than 5 times now. Now, the biggest burden of that is how much of our revenue we are using to pay debt. During Moi's time, he had renegotiated the debt, and he had 30%. He had gone to Paris Club in 1995. So he had 30% of the 200 billion going towards the payment of debt. Kibaki, with his brilliance on the economy, had reduced that 30% to 18% of his tax revenue, right, going towards payment of debt. So he had a leeway of almost 72%, right, that he could fund his budget. In fact, there was a point where he was not even borrowing. Then you come to Uhuru. Uhuru handed over to William Ruto 65% of his tax revenue going to debt, from 18 to 65. Now, when you're looking at tax revenue, as was gotten this last financial year, the tax revenue did not exceed 2.8. And 2.6 has gone. You're now at 81%.